Hello, friend, and welcome to our 50th episode of the Get Organized for Good podcast. I cannot believe it is 50 episodes, and we are doing something super special. We are actually recording this live in front of an online studio audience. So right now, we are deep in our new year, new clarity, organize your life in 2025 free Facebook group experience at the time of recording this. And Briggs is here for another thrilling episode of Conversations for Good. Briggs, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I am so very excited to be here. It is different though, in that, usually it's pre-recorded so we can take things out if I go off script. But now our good friends here, and I'm so appreciative that you guys all came live. I feel very honored that you are here. You'll hear any gaffes that I have, so we'll see. I'll try to keep it, kosher.
I think we've only ever really edited out one thing that you said that you didn't like. We usually keep it all inside. So yes, but you better be on your best behavior today. I am never on my best behavior, so we're not even going to give me that caveat. Okay, so thank you everyone who is here live listening. We are so happy that you're here. And thank you to everyone who's listening to this when this is released on Tuesday. Those of you listening to it on your favorite platforms, we are so glad you tuned in this week. Okay, so before we dive into today's content, which is drum roll, please, all about systems, I'm going to take a minute to just brag on the amazing participants in our challenge. I mean, Briggs, are you not blown away?
Oh my goodness. I have been in tears, honestly, just reading everyone's comments. They have been so engaged and really taking it all very seriously. I have loved how much they've learned from you. I mean, I was in tears from your last, I told you this already, but from the session yesterday, it was so good, so inspiring. I was just, very excited about that too. So it's been a really fun, exciting week. And I don't want it to end.
I know, it's so fun. I mean, maybe you cried because I was literally crying.
I cried before you cried, though. But yes, that also impacted me.
It's so amazing to see the incredible awakenings that people are having in terms of how their clutter is impacting them. And to see the shift in mindset is what is so touching, because that shift in mindset, as we know, is the first step to the shift in action, which is coming. And by the time this podcast is released, they are going to be deep in the implementation. So that is really, really exciting and satisfying. And we had over 6,700 people sign up for the challenge. We've got over 3,000 people in the Facebook group that we can see participating, which means there's other people that are participating that we can't even see. And it's really fun to think about the impact that we get to have doing this.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the big thing that I think a lot of people run into that you talked about is the having excuses. But I loved when you were saying that they're real. It's not like these are made up excuses in your mind. We are short on time. We are short on space. It is difficult to make it work, hard to get your spouse or kids on board. But if you are able to realize that they are excuses and you can overcome them, and this is what I'm going to do to no longer allow that to be my excuse. So many people have commented on ways they're going to do that. And I just have been so impressed.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things that I said yesterday, which I've never really said in this way, obviously I've thought about it in this way, which is there are so many hard things in our lives that we can't control. And being disorganized and having clutter causes us so much pain, right? Like it causes us frustration and fights and makes us feel like we're not living our favorite version of our life. But what's amazing is that is entirely in our control. Like we can do something about it. And it doesn't mean it's easy because of all the things you just enumerated, lack of time and maybe lack of support from our partners and, feeling like we have a challenging space, but we can control all of that. There's always solutions. And that's what we've been diving deep into this week, which has been really fun. And it's a little bit what we're going to be talking about today. See, did you see that segue? See what I did there, Briggs?
You're so good. You are so good.
Thanks. Okay. So we know this time of year, everyone is really thinking about getting organized, how they can make this year a more organized year. But so often people just have a goal without having a plan that's been any different than what they've done in the past. And I always say, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. You've got to do it in a new way. So rather than talking about that process, what we thought it would be fun for Briggs and I to talk about is now that we're on the other side of it, because we were in the place that everyone in this Facebook group is in now many years ago, right? Like we were disorganized. We had too much stuff, me more than you, but really in this place of like being disorganized and not having strong systems in place. And we both went through this process. We got organized. We decluttered and organized our homes. And then we set up systems and routines that support our lifestyle. And that is what we're going to share very, very specific examples of today. So I just want to briefly, sort of explain the difference, or not the difference, but the interconnectedness between systems and routines. I did an entire podcast episode on this, which we can link in the show notes if we remember to do so. But basically, the systems are what we set up in our homes, in a room, in a drawer, in a closet. It's the organizational structure. And then the routine is how we use it. And I think where a lot of people fail when it comes to getting organized is they set up a system that in its static state looks great, functions great, but our homes are living, breathing beings. Like we are living, breathing beings in them, and they have to support our lifestyle. So you have to set up a routine that is actually going to work within that system so that you can stay organized. That was a mouthful, but you think anything else to add to that?
Beautifully done. No, I think that's exactly right. It's like the system is this physical space and the routine is what you're doing with that physical space on a regular basis.
Yeah. So let's sort of dive into some of the really specific, almost like mundane systems that we have set up in our house. And I was thinking about it, like on paper, you and I have similar lives. Like we went to the same grad school, we work at the same company. Mm-hmm. We are both married. We both have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, right? Like we've got a lot of similarities, but we are so very different. And our desires are very different and our lifestyles are quite different in a lot of ways. So we thought it would be fun to sort of compare and contrast some of our routines and get really specific about what works for us. So why don't you jump in, Briggs?
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking about how, when you're talking to a toddler and the toddler is telling you a story and it just makes no sense, but there's lots of details. So I was really thinking like, I need to avoid doing that because I could see, I was thinking through how I was going to explain my routines. And I was like, and then we do this, but not always. And sometimes, but no, we never actually do that.
I love it. I love it. Yes. And and I think you know me well, I didn't love that toddler phase. So I appreciate that you're not going to do that on this podcast because I'm like, get to the point, Right. I don't have all day for this. So
yes, and the point is that they don't have a point, but I do. So I will try to get to mine. So the one that I really wanted to start off with is the least complicated, but the most impactful for me. In fact, it was so impactful that I messaged you, Corinne, a few months ago at like 10 o'clock at night, which is not that unusual for me to do.
Sadly, it's not.
But it was because I was having this problem with my system. So at bedtime, my plan is to have some melatonin, then brush my teeth, then floss, mouthwash, go to bed. That's like the crux of it. That's the part of my routine I want to focus on. And what I was doing is I was brushing my teeth, forgetting to take the melatonin, and then I had to brush my teeth again because it's these gummies and And so I thought, how am I going to remember to take this melatonin? I forget every time. It's here. It's set up in a system that I thought would work for me because it's in the same drawer even as the toothbrush, but I was still forgetting every night. My routine was to forget. So
wait a second. That is good. I got to do it. I got to pull out that nugget. Isn't it so, it's so interesting that we can get in these habits and these routines that do the exact opposite of what we want them to do. Because if we don't catch it, we're like, oh, my routine is to look at that melatonin sitting there and just literally not do anything about it. Because that's it's what happens to our clutter in our home. Like we just stop seeing the things. And Absolutely. I think that's a really powerful point. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. No, I totally, yeah. Every time I would just forget every time, like I got to remember to next time, and I wouldn't. So what I decided to do instead was I put the melatonin on top of my toothbrush. It didn't quite fit in the container that my toothbrush was in. So it didn't look good. It wasn't the way exactly it should be, but we do not go for perfection here, right? We are about making the routine work for us or making the system work for us both. So that worked. So then went to get my toothbrush and I was like, where is it? Oh yeah,
It's
under my melatonin. Now I remember to take it. Go ahead.
No, I love this. Because I would never do that, Briggs. I would never set up a system like that. But this is the whole point of everything we talk about, which is setting up a system that works for you. It is the secret sauce to an amazing life, is having these systems that work for you. It doesn't matter that me as a professional organizer would never do it. And that would never show up in a pretty picture on Instagram, but it is the thing for you that's allowing you to stick to this routine. And so it's brilliant. And I love it.
Thank you. It is brilliant.
It is. It really is.
So anyway, so I did that for a couple months and now I don't need to. Now the melatonin is back in its original spot where it was supposed to be. And I remember to take it every time because it was meant to be. Like that's what's meant to be. So I just think it takes a while to get used to the routine, right?
Absolutely. It absolutely does. Yes. Okay. So let me share one of mine. Well, that was a good one, Briggs. I don't know that I have anything. I was really more just going to share some of the basics of the things that we do. So I think I'm going to talk about our morning routine, because I think, part of what keeps coming up over and over again for the people that we're seeing in the Facebook group is this idea of not having enough time. Like I don't have time to do all the things that I want to do. So what I want to share our morning routine, because now that my kids are older, 14 and 11, and we've been living this way for many years, I don't have to do very much at all in the morning to make our mornings go smoothly. So I'm not going to share necessarily our whole nighttime and morning routine. I've done whole podcast episodes on that. But what I will say is we have empowered is the positive way to say it. And I'll say we expect that our kids will have their own alarms set. Their alarms go off. They get out of bed themselves. They don't need to be woken up by us. They make their own beds every morning. And I make our bed while my husband puts our dishes away, because we run the dishes after dinner every single night. That's part of our daily kitchen reset. And so by the time we leave the house in the morning, and by leave the house, I mean come in here in my home office, the beds are made, the dishes are put away, and there has been no franticness to it, because everybody is really in this routine of making sure that our morning go smoothly. But that didn't just happen, right? Like that was very much by design, and sharing with the kids what the expectations are and helping them, the process of sort of helping them, teaching them how to make their beds and laying out this as an expectation for them. And then also the division of labor with my husband, that I'll make the bed, but you put the dishes away. He does that while the kids are having breakfast. And so it just allows our mornings to work so smoothly.
Yes, that is beautiful. I mean, I do love the way that you've set everything up. And I feel like you've put so much diligent daily time into teaching your kids how to do these things. Right. And I feel like, I would love to know more about that actually. So I guess, so is it every day that you, to get them into this routine?
Yeah.
So every day you would tell them, do you do this now? Mm-hmm. Now you do this. And then the next day you do this now. And now you do this, right? How long do you feel like that took? Did you take a day off?
No days off. No. And even on the weekends, right? Like the kids make their beds on the weekends, even if it means my daughter loves to lounge in her. I mean, first of all, my son sleeps in so late these days if he doesn't have to be up for anything on the weekends. And my daughter loves to lounge in her bed. So even if she's lounging in her bed on her iPad or whatever, when she's done lounging in her bed for the day, whatever time it is, the expectation is to make your bed. But it's so funny because we have so I'll transition to the after school routine, but it is going to answer your question. So the after school routine is come home, unpack your lunch, repack your lunch, charge your device. Like that's what you have to do. Unpack, repack, charge your device. And then it's homework or go to activities, like whatever happens afterwards. So I will hear my kids when they come home, they're like, okay, I need to unpack my lunch, pack my lunch, charge my device. And yesterday I picked up my son and it was a half day. They don't bring lunches on a half day, but he had made his lunch the night before, forgetting he had a half day. So he came home. I picked him up and I said, oh, you don't have to make your lunch for tomorrow. You already have it made. He's like, that's right, but I do need to charge my device. So it's like, it's the repetition almost gives them a mental checklist. And I know you actually have some written checklists that you use with your kids. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. My kids don't need the written checklist. It's the verbal, like constantly reviewing. So it's just, that's how it's like you get, oh, if I had seen one of my kids had gone downstairs for breakfast before they made their bed, it's like, nope, go back upstairs, make your bed, then have breakfast. So it was a lot of these reminders. So I don't know that I would have a specific time frame to give you, but it is just the constant repetition until it's in their minds of like, this is just what we do. And, you know, I've talked about this before. Like, is that what they want to do when they come home from school? Like, that's just not the question that's asked. It's like, not do you want to or do you not want to? Because like, if we all only did what we want, like I mean, my kids wouldn't go to school. My kids wouldn't eat their bed, right? It's like, that's not the question. It's just, what do we do? Like, what's the expectation and what do we do? So I think that has been a helpful reframe around like, this is just how we do things.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think that that is so true. And that's a message that I tell my kids as well. It's like, I'm not doing everything that I'm doing is not exactly what I want to do at this time. I would eat a lot of Doritos. I would go for walks around the whole neighborhood, like all day long. That's probably what I would spend my time doing if I had the druthers. But I got to get stuff done, right? You've got tasks. You might as well do them in a routine way where you don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry about it. And it just comes naturally, right? And the more you can give them the tools to do that, the happier they'll be because they're not, oh, I have to do this again. Like, yeah, you've been doing this for years now. You're all set, right? So I think where my problem comes in, so many, but is that, just kidding.
So many problems. So many of them. Let's go. Let's hear them, Briggs.
Yeah. So you mentioned the written on the wall. So it used to be the pictures that were on the wall before they could read. Now they can read. So I have it written out what they should bring. But the problem, I think, for me is that, and why I asked you the question is, I think I expect them to do it without as many reminders as I should have given them. Like I didn't give enough time. So then I'm mad, right? Like it's on the wall. You know what to do. We've done it before. And they're like, what? What do I have to do? You can read it right here. They're like, where? So I think I need to do more of I have to slow myself down, come some more hand holding, and just walk them through the steps. Because our morning routine is very basic. So they wake up on their own. I wake up usually later, actually, and then they get themselves, they brush their teeth and they make their own breakfast. It's just cereal. No one's doing anything complicated down there. And then they can play. Once they do those two things, then they can play.
But and remind everyone how old your kids are.
They are 7 and 9.
So I think that for people listening, like 7 and 9, they're waking themselves up and they're getting their own breakfast because I know a lot. I mean, that's not so young, but yeah. I would bet that most moms of 7 and 9-year-olds are still helping to facilitate the process, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for moms that are feeling like, I don't have time, I don't have a second to myself in the morning. Have you tried to let your kids do a bit more for themselves? I love that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be something to think about because it is nice. Yeah. But then we can be involved if we want, right? And so, but they really want to play and just with each other, they don't really need me in the morning to play with them. So that is my time to get ready and, get this stuff all set for them to get out the door. So it's a very basic routine. And and then getting out the door is really quite simple too, because we've done what you've taught me, which is to get ready the night before. So our after school routine will then lead into the morning routine. So in the after school routine, they come home, they take their shoes off. We don't have a mudroom, just an entryway. Our dining room sort of serves as partial mudroom because it's right there, and I'm all about function. So they put their schoolwork, homework, things I need to review on the dining room table, and then I will go and make popcorn. Then they will eat the popcorn every day, right? They know there's popcorn coming. They love the snack. It's, filling, fiber, all that good stuff. I don't have to, argue or fight, ask them, what do you want for your snack? And then there's this whole conversation. It's just, this is what we're having for snack. They love it. Great. We chat about the day while we eat popcorn, go through whatever forms they might have. Then they do their homework. Usually they can do it together in the dining room table, but if they cannot, then I send one of them away. And who I send away depends on who I sent away the day before. So it's an every other take your turn kind of situation. Mm-hmm. So who had to go to the other room last time? Well, my son did. Okay, now my daughter, you need to go this time. It doesn't happen that often, but if they're, if the homework is hard, then they start to blame each other. I don't know if this is a normal thing or not, but it's like, stop talking. Like he wasn't talking. You're just mad that you can't figure this problem out. You're
frustrated with yourself, right?
Yeah, right. You're breathing too loud. It's like, just,
Oh, siblings.
Yes. And then once they're done with that, then they put their stuff back in their backpacks. Backpacks are away. Their shoes are already away. They don't really bring lunches. They eat school lunch and all that. So we don't have to do any of that. So it's quite simple. Then we just leave the house in the morning with their backpacks that are already filled with the things they want. Their shoes are where they know they are. They got their coats,
Right. And so it's funny because to you, it sounds so simple, and it is, but it's an actual system and it's a routine, right? It's like, it is every single piece of that has been thought through. There's the come home, there's the snack, there's the take the stuff out. It's here's we do the homework and we put it all back, right? It's like every component of that is the piece of the system that makes it feel so simple, right? But most people don't actually think through like, what are we doing now? Like, what's going to be supportive to the family? How are we going to, get these things done? How are we going to make sure that we are set for the next day? And so it really is just bringing that awareness and intentionality to like, what are the pain points in the day and where can we make them better? Can you share, apropos of nothing that you just talked about, can you share about your socks and where you keep them? Because when I shared about this on Instagram, not only did I get a number of DMs about it, but my sister, who's 2 years older than me and has 3 kids who are all older at this point. I mean, one's in college, one's in high school, one's in middle school. It blew her freaking mind in the best way because she had never even thought of it. So can you just share?
Well, and I'd like to point out that when I mentioned this 5 years ago to you and we put it in the membership and your mom was a member, she also reached out to us about it at that time. So there's something about
socks
your family really loving socks. So something that I realized at some point along the way was that we don't really wear socks in the house. And so the kids were getting ready to go and they couldn't find the socks every day. So every day I'd be like, go upstairs and get your socks. You don't have socks on. You need socks. So they'd go upstairs and get socks. I'm like, why do I keep the socks upstairs in their drawer? Right? The socks should really be downstairs because that's where we are when we need to leave. So the kids are running around in the morning having fun. I'm like, okay, time to go. Put your shoes and socks on. So then they put their shoes and socks on. They're both right in our entryway. We have a little white bin has tons and tons of socks in it. So yeah, that works out pretty nicely.
It's just, again, it's one of those examples where like most people haven't thought about it. Most people aren't doing it. And yet it makes life so much easier. So it really is about thinking outside the box and not just doing what everyone else has done. Right. And I have, all of our socks very neatly organized inside our drawers upstairs in our bedroom. Like that's what works for us. And so if you see a picture online, you're like, this is what it should be. This is where it's like, no, spend the time to think about what is your actual lifestyle and how are you living in your house? Any other systems or routines that you feel called to share? I mean, I think what's hard is like, at this point, it's every single area of our lives that run like this. Not like we're
Right.
so perfect, but we've realized that this really is the answer to this really is the answer to having the life that we want, right? It's really setting up these systems and routines.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the one area that we struggle with is, and why I asked you about the like how long it took you to get them into the routine, is getting ready for swimming. They swim almost every night, but it's at a different time every night. So, and I think that might be why I need to have some sort of trigger that's like, okay, I mean, I tell them it's time to get ready, and they're like, okay, great. And then they're off doing something else. Or as I mentioned before, reading. Like, that's great that you love to read, but we have to go, right? So I have on that's what I had written was you need your swimsuit, you need your goggles, you need your swim cap, you need your fins, you need your kickboard, all on the wall. And they're like, huh, where do I, whatever. I mean, it's all in a cabinet of our swimming stuff, right? And they even have a swim bag with most of the stuff in there. They just have to get their suit on, get their bag out, check to make sure that the things are in there, which they always are. And then, they need to leave the house. So it's just a matter of like getting them to stop playing, I think is the main, like transitioning in their minds from, okay, I can't play anymore, I can't read, I can't do what I want, mom said it's time to go, this is what I need to do right now.
I wonder if do you ever set an alarm on your phone, like a really loud alarm to go off?
Good idea. Yeah, I
I
should.
I wonder if because you're generally around your kids, like you're near
Yeah.
them, right? So
Yeah.
I wonder if you've started to set an alarm when
Mm-hmm.
you want that process, either right when you want the process to start or as the like 5, 10, 50, whatever feels good for you as the warning. And they hear that and pick us a sound that's like not the most pleasant, just so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that alarm means it's time to start doing X, Y, and Z, or we have 5 minutes until we need to start. Because I think it is hard when it's not the same time every day
Mm-hmm.
for those age kids, right? Because at this point with my kids, like for my son who has a phone, we have a shared iCal calendar that his things are in, so he can see what time it is. But what is time, right? We all sort of lose track of it, especially at that age. So I wonder if you had some consistent cue that worked for them to sort of get them back in that mindset. I wonder if something like that would be really helpful for you.
I love that idea. I shall do it immediately, and then I will report back the next time I am on this podcast and let you know how it went.
I love it. All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. So for everyone who is listening to this on Tuesday, when this podcast drops, we have something very exciting to share, which is doors to the G&G Home Organizing membership are open. Yay! We only open doors twice a year. They are only open for a very limited time, and doors are now open. So we are going to put the link in the show notes to join the membership. And we are so excited to help support an entire new group of women to come through the membership and help you first and foremost get your homes organized, but then also help you create systems and routines that are very specific to your lifestyle so that you can have all of this calm and like just get rid of all of these friction points throughout your day that we're talking about. And we've seen how incredible the people in our free challenge are now, and just how deserving everyone is of living this way. Just you're amazing, friend. And we really want you to experience a different way of living in your homes and having a life that feels exactly like you want it to be. So, Briggs, what do you have to say about the membership?
I have loved it. I walked through it myself when we first started. Even though I'm on the team and was at that time, I still took it as a recipient would and have gotten myself organized. It really has impacted every single thing. I feel so much calmer. I have so much more time. I was just talking to someone yesterday about how I much prefer to have more time than I need than the other way around,
Yep.
right? Which we
Yep.
all do. And I almost always do have more time than I need to get whatever done that needs to get done. And I did not used to. It feels so good.
It's so true. And we've shared this on another episode that we've done before, but like we got to the point where we're like, what do we do with our extra time? We don't even know what to do with this extra time that we have. And that came to us because we live what the membership is all about. So for everyone who's listening to this live, you got to keep this a secret. You got to keep this a secret for a few days because this isn't going to be shared with the rest of the world until Thursday. So we have something Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you.
I got you.
So we have something very special for our live listeners. But for all of you who are listening to this on Tuesday, when this comes out, we hope to see you inside the G&G membership. Go make it a great day.